Welcome to the exciting rebirth of Superstar, featuring choose your membership rate as low as just $3 a month. At Superstar, you get expanded, exclusive video scopes each and every week, unlimited access to special horoscopes, class passes for Synchronicity University, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space. I look forward to meeting you there. Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of September 12th, 2021. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological week, without a doubt. I want to start off by talking about Mars. It is going to be on Tuesday that Mars will change signs and move into the sign of Libra. Now, take this into consideration. Mars is the ruling planet of Aries and the ancient ruling planet of Scorpio. And so right now we have Mars opposite its sign. And as Mars moves into Libra, the ancients thought that this particular placement, when a ruling planet is opposite its home sign, well, that is when that planet is not especially very strong. And that is the case now. It is, of course, Mars that has to do with understanding ourselves. The circle of Mars in the glyph has to do with wholeness, self-knowledge, and containment. It has to do with knowing that you, connecting with your own instincts, with your own wisdom, is the starting place for action. And it is the arrow that represents action arising from that circle, from that place of wholeness. Well, that's how wise action takes place. Now, because the very nature of Mars is so independent, consider now that Mars is in a sign that has to do with partnership. It has to do with considering other perspectives. It isn't just about what you think and your instincts and what it is that you want and acting from that place, but the energy of Libra represents considering other perspectives, including considering other people, how your actions may affect others, but also how it is your actions may evoke certain reactions from other people as well. Libra is the energy of partnership, but it's also the energy of diplomacy, very famously having to do with harmony and balance. How do we find balance? Well, it isn't just within ourselves, but by taking other perspectives in as well. And so we have this energy of independence, of self-knowledge, now being asked to not only be directed outwards, but also to find that balance between what we give and what it is that we get. And it can be tricky because, as I said, the ancients believed that Mars was not strong in the sign of Libra. And so how do we take this energy then that is so highly independent, ferociously so, fiercely so in some cases, and find a way to balance that impulse with the impulses of others? Well, what I can say is one way that we do that is first by starting from wholeness, by starting from that place of knowing ourselves. There's something very powerful that happens when we come to other perspectives and we come to other people from that place of wholeness, but also openness to evolve, openness to change, openness to consider. And where it is that we're motivated for alliances to take place, where it is that we find ourselves driven to understand each other, that understanding must take place. It is the will to find balance, the will to find other perspectives that ultimately help us to find that middle ground. I did speak a couple of weeks back about Mercury moving into Libra. Mercury is in Libra right now, and Mercury is in shadow, which means that Mercury is walking the path that he will, come the last days of this month, begin to go retrograde on. In fact, I will add that it is next week that Mercury will station, the week after that Mercury will go retrograde. Of course, I'll be here to talk about it every step of the way, but a big and larger theme I'm seeing play out here Not only because of Mercury. Mercury in Libra is saying diplomacy, is saying take other considerations into perspective, and to find harmony, to find balance within ourselves and with each other. But you add Mars to this, and that very process, that intention, takes on a certain urgency now. Mars is going to be in the sign of Libra for the next month and a half. So we've got somewhat of a nice long stay, right? It's going to define certainly this early part of the autumn season for a lot of us out there, and especially with Mercury retrograde. The desire to relate to each other is going to be very strong. And so for some of us, this energy may play out within, where we are reconciling different parts of ourselves. Now, I'm going to add something else into the mix. I want you to take into consideration that one of the larger transits of this year, of 2021, the defining transit, is Uranus-Saturn square, right? These two planets are dancing in square formation. They're dancing in tension throughout the year. The first two exact moments of their dance took place back in February and then June. And it is going to be at the end of the year, in December, that the final exact connection is going to take place. And yet these planets continue to dance with each other. And they will into next year as well in some ways, even though they won't reach an exact moment of connection. Still, they will find themselves within orb. And what that means is with some sense of not exact precision, but pretty darn close. And it is this energy of Saturn and of Uranus that represent the traditional, old, and the new. And both of these planets are ruling planets of the energy of Aquarius. And so Aquarius is an energy of change, of rebellion, of revolution in some ways. Now, what does that revolution look like is going to be unique to each one of us. Many of us are finding a revolution within. Many of us are finding ourselves no longer willing to accept things as they have been, or more importantly, especially for the energy this week, is that we are, as part of our individual journeys throughout this year and into next year as well, we are reconciling the old and the new. We are reconciling whom it is that we have been and whom it is that we desire to be. We are redefining ourselves, but also tapping into the best of ourselves, or the best that we used to be, trying to find a way to evolve that energy and bring it into our future, bring it into a new definition of self. This is happening collectively. This is happening individually as well. So now, coming back to this week, consider how it is that all this Libra energy, asking us for harmony, asking us for balance within the context of this larger energy playing out throughout the year, the larger energy having to do with the old and the new, reconciling where we've been and whom we've been, and in what ways and what it is we want to carry into our future. What we may have forgotten about ourselves, what we may have let go of ourselves that we want to pick up again, that we want to tap into again, because it represents something. It represents freedom or authenticity or even stability. And so now here we are, we're asked to find a balancing act, all of us, in at least one area of life, if not more than one area of life, are being asked to harmonize. And yes, this may have to do with other people. Harmonize with the people around us, find those connections, find ways in which to create and stabilize alliances, find ways to get along with people even when it's hard, right? Very simply put. And yet this balancing, this need for harmony is also within ourselves. The larger trend of balancing the old with the new and coming up with something brand new, a new self, well, that give and take, that consideration of what that actually involves and what different parts of us within ourselves exist, that may be part of the journey for a lot of us out there. And there's an urgency to that journey now that Mars enters Libra. How do we know that we need to work towards balance? Very often it's because we don't feel balanced. We feel out of balance, or we don't feel very harmonious. How is it that we know that wholeness, knowing who we are, being at peace with ourselves and our choices, knowing that we are okay as we are? Normally, how we get there is the work that we do because we don't feel that way. There is something I've learned as I continue to do this work, as I continue to share, as I continue to interact with so many incredible people out there. There might just be nothing as important as being at peace with yourself. There's nothing as important as being at peace with yourself and your choices in your life, whatever they may have been. There is a sense for a lot of us now, as we are considering different perspectives within ourselves, in our lives, in our world. What does it look like to now move forward? What could something new look like that is still centered in self-knowledge and in wholeness? I think that is going to be part of the journey for a lot of us out there, especially now that Mars is entering the sign of Libra. But consider this as well. Mercury's already there. Next week, the sun is going to get there into the energy of Libra. This need for harmony within, the peace that comes within, this need for balance in every way, in every area of life is necessary. It is necessary as part of living a useful life. From that place of inner balance, we're able to do so much more in the world. I've spoken quite a bit so far about the energy of Libra, but let's contrast that a little bit with the energy of Virgo. It's like the energy of Virgo is going out with some power move, some undeniable knocking it out of the park kind of energy we are going to have this week. If you remember, over the last 2 weeks, I was telling you about Mars moving through the later degrees of Virgo. 2 weeks ago, Mars stood across the sky from Neptune. Last week, spoke in supreme harmony with Pluto. And now, in the first part of the week, will leave the sign of Virgo. Well, the sun is somewhat tracing the steps of Mars. And it is going to be right around Tuesday that the sun will stand across the sky from Neptune. And then on Thursday, speak in supreme harmony with Pluto. The sun will leave the sign of Virgo next week. Now, the energy of Virgo, let's contrast that with the energy of Libra. Whereas Libra is about alliances and partnership and considering other perspectives, it is the energy of Virgo that was thought and conceptualized as the Virgin. And what that means is independence, really. The virginal energy is of the maiden, and the maiden is an energy of being able to be self-sufficient. And this is why one of our great astrologers, Donna Cunningham, who passed away a few years ago, I remember very early in my approach towards becoming a full-time astrologer. So we're talking like 20 years ago, because it was just over 15 years ago now that I've been a full-time astrologer. But I remember in that lead up, right, those years leading up to that shift into full time. And I remember how much I loved Donna Cunningham's books. And one thing she used to emphasize in her books was that people who have a lot of Virgo energy in their chart, meaning you've got a lot of planets in Virgo, or they've got a lot of sixth house energy, because the sixth house has a natural correspondence with the energy of Virgo. These people can be highly self-sufficient. And according to Donna Cunningham, these could be people who could be in a relationship or not, and they would be completely okay because they have that ability to be independent and to focus on the task at hand, to be in the moment, to do what is in front of them to do. I like to think of the energy of Virgo as one that reminds us that our so-called smallest moments are sacred, and that what it is that we repeatedly do, we become masters at. We cultivate mastery in what it is that we repeatedly do. And so here we have some very powerful energy this week. The sun in Virgo will stand across the sky from Neptune. Now, this energy is never easy. It does represent disappointment or uncertainty, and sometimes it can even speak to fear or loss. I'm so sorry to say that, but it does happen. I think of it as energy that says we may not feel very stable, especially because the sun is in an earth sign. Our desire for stability is there. And yet Neptune, god of the seas, across the sky from that sun, is going to have us feeling as if stability is elusive. Just when we think we're good at something, we may find ourselves maybe not feeling as confident or as sure that we have put in the time needed to cultivate the mastery that we believe a moment requires. And yet we get to Thursday very quickly. What we have is the sun speaking in supreme harmony with Pluto. Now, this is one of my absolute favorite alignments. It takes place twice a year. And I do think that the sun trine Pluto, this is energy that says we harness our will and we transform our circumstances for the better. Now, I will tell you personally, I try to do something that matters to me whenever it is that the sun trines Pluto, because I find that there's just that extra bit of support from the universe. There's that ability to focus, and I call it knock it out of the park, where it is that you are wanting something or going for something or understanding that you can harness your own power to transform your circumstances for the better. This energy can be very helpful with that. The sun, and a well-placed sun, speaks to confidence, knowing thyself, being connected to some source of power within you on a level of your core. And then you add to it this focus and intensity of Pluto, and we are just able to understand how it is that we can direct that core energy towards the outcome we desire. No matter how hard it may seem, we're able to calm those voices and zone in, hone in on what it is that we desire. And very often we're able to get it. And so all of us in at least one area of life are going to find ourselves able to harness intensity and to understand what is worth paying attention to. What is worth putting in the time? What is worth putting in the hours in order to get the outcomes we desire? And it's also just believing in ourselves enough to take action to back up that belief within ourselves. And finally, Venus this week, moving through the sign of Scorpio, is going to connect with Saturn in a conversation of tension on Friday. This is a type of connection or conversation that astrologers call a square. Venus right now in the sign of Scorpio is also not considered a strong placement. What I think of as not a strong placement, well, if you are somebody born with Venus in the sign of Scorpio, chances are that you just have to work a little bit harder, as we all do, in one area or another, right? But you may have to work a little bit harder to tap into some of the lighter side that Venus promises. And especially, look, with Venus in the sign of Scorpio, the energy of Scorpio is like the opposite of light, right? Everything means something, which is part of the gift of the energy of Scorpio as well. But yes, Venus right now, opposite its ruling sign, or one of its ruling signs, which is the energy of Taurus, is in the sign of Scorpio. And having a square configuration with Saturn. And to me, what this larger configuration here does suggest is a reality check where it comes to love, or where it comes to money for some people out there, where it comes to pleasure. I see this energy as one of delayed gratification. As I was looking at this, I was reminded of this wonderful book that I know I quote a whole lot, or I paraphrase, I should say, share ideas from this book a whole lot, because it was so influential for me. It's called The Road Less Traveled by Scott M. Peck. Now, this book was one that I read about twice a year for a period of about 10 years when I was in my 20s, going into my 30s. So it was a while back. I'll just put it out there. But this book was such an important book for me. One of the key ideas, one of the many really powerful ideas that Scott M. Peck shares in this book is that as a psychiatrist, because he's speaking from that perspective, he is a psychiatrist, or was rather, there are certain markers that he looks for when treating a new patient or a new client in particular. And he tries to assess and look for these markers at the beginning and along the way to determine how much does this person love themselves, how much does this person value themselves. And one concept that he shared was that when someone is rooted in self-love, they will understand that their energy is valuable. They will understand that some larger goals are worth working towards, that they are worth working towards those larger aims and larger goals. And therefore, someone who values themselves, who loves themselves, will at times, not always, but at times, and not in all areas, but in some areas, at some moments, at some times, will delay gratification. And he uses this example of eating a cake, how when you eat a cake, some people may save the frosting for last because they feel that the frosting is the most or more delicious part than the cake itself. And I never forgot that particular example that he gave. As I looked at this particular aspect of Venus square Saturn, I thought that this is an aspect of delayed gratification. This is an aspect that says, is it worth the sacrifice or not? And are you worth making that sacrifice? Do you believe that you can have what it is that you desire in a larger sense, or are you just going to give into instant gratification? Now, there are some sacrifices that we realize maybe are not worth it. There is wisdom in knowing that maybe on a certain pathway you've gone as far as you are going to go, and to change course. There's nothing wrong with that. But that is different than not walking the path at all. And where it is that we may need to cultivate some of that wisdom to understand and find our own answers, it is Venus square Saturn that can help us to do just that in just about any area of life, but for all of us in at least one area of life. And so where is it that perhaps you might have been giving a whole lot and sacrificing a whole lot because you feel there's going to be some larger gain? Maybe a gain in terms of money or a gain in terms of love. And where is it perhaps that you've given enough? And now it's time to be honest with yourself about what's not working. And does that mean you're going to walk a whole other path? You're going to just leave that path and go on another sidewalk or go on another street altogether? Or does it mean that you're going to change course enough to find another way to what it is that you want? Our answers are going to be uniquely our own, but I do feel that for a lot of us out there, this reality check moment is going to be very valuable because it helps us ultimately at the root of it, on the surface of it. It may look frustrating. It may look uncertain. It may look as if we've got more to do, and do I really want it? We're asking ourselves those questions, but the root of it is, do we love ourselves? Do we value ourselves? And are we behaving from a place of self-love? Behaving from a place of self-love doesn't mean you stay the course no matter what. Coming from a place of self-love means that you understand that you are worthy of larger gains than just the instant gratification, and that you're willing to put in the time to make those gains. But if a particular pathway isn't getting you there, or if you realize that the gains you're moving towards just don't matter to you the way that they used to, it is okay to change course. I also think that with Saturn square Venus, we may not be able to get what we want right away, and that's okay too. Sometimes some of the greatest blessings come when we realize what isn't working. And even if we don't know what the other thing is just yet, to have faith that the other thing will present itself to us. I want to use a personal example here that I may edit out. This year has been one, well, Jupiter in Aquarius has been one of me sharing personal examples. But let me say, I remember way back, it was 2010, if I remember correctly. And I remember I had gotten a production deal with a pretty big company in Toronto, and this was a really big deal to me. And I remember working on the pilot because they had a vision and I had a vision for a show. And I'm working on this pilot, and we recorded this pilot 3 different times. And I remember how exhausted I was over the course of that journey. I had a vision, and they said that they had the same vision, but they actually had a very different vision. And that vision was not who I am, who I was. And it was incredibly painful to realize that this isn't working, that I've given this so much. I've poured all of myself into it. I've been giving it my all for weeks and weeks, recorded the pilot 3 times, and each time they would come back and say, no, this has got to change. This has got to change. The stuff that was most meaningful to me was the stuff that they didn't want. And I had this moment when I realized that this isn't the way, that this is not going to work. And when I had to write that email and send it to them and say, thank you so much, but this isn't going to work. I remember I was so disappointed that I spent about a month just kind of numb, like just really, really sad, really numb, because this was what I thought I wanted. This is what I thought was my dream. And I didn't really know what to do with myself. And so what I always do when I don't know what to do is I travel. And I remember going on a trip and, going to Europe and connecting with some of my professors and students that I had been with years earlier. And over the course of that time, I was recording a lot of interviews and locations. And that's when it really hit home that I should give more to YouTube. That was really when I got the message that had been coming to me for the last couple of years, where people were saying, you've really got to do more on YouTube. You've got to do more on YouTube. And so finally, while traveling, that message clicked. And I remember coming back after my journey. And sometimes after you travel, you feel you've got a little bit of the blues. But I remember right away the next day recording tons of content. I just started pouring myself into this YouTube thing. And so many great, great things in my life, and this incredible life that I have now, is because of YouTube, this wonderful platform, this wonderful tool that allowed me to do what I really wanted to do. And so it was because of YouTube that I was able to create the content that I wanted to create. I wanted to interview astrologers, and I did. I've interviewed well over 200 astrologers now, and all of those interviews are on my channel. I wanted to connect with people. I wanted to give hope to people. And I've had a chance to do all of that. And it really was once I allowed that honesty that the space was created. Even when it was hard, that space was created for new inspiration to come in. And I am sharing this because I feel like that may be the case for a whole lot of us out there this week. We've got the sun opposite Neptune. We have got Venus square Saturn. And so there may be that sense of having to accept what isn't working, or having to accept how we are living maybe isn't working for us anymore. What we're giving ourselves to isn't working for us anymore, even when it's hard. But in the midst of that, finding that thing that is going to work. Understanding what's worth sacrificing for and what isn't. And understanding that there are a myriad of ways to live our purpose and to live some larger vision, to find depth of meaning. And that depth of meaning is what we look towards, is what we sacrifice for. Not necessarily the instant gratification, but that depth of meaning can be there even if it seems like what's right in front of us isn't working out. And so this energy can play out in all kinds of ways in different areas of life. But remember that focus on the day, on the details, that's the energy of Virgo. Finding power in the day is the energy of Virgo, and especially the Sun trine Pluto. And of course, the depth of meaning, the honesty, even when it's hard, so that we cultivate wisdom and move forward from there. That can be Venus and Scorpio square Saturn. Honesty, that truth moment, that reality check can be challenging for a lot of us out there. And at certain times more challenging than at other times. And yet it is always to be welcome, because it truly is the truth that liberates us, that opens us to endless possibilities. It is the truth that sets us free, but sets us free for what? To be ourselves, fully ourselves, and to find the rewards there. What I love about this week for us, well, look, there's a lot here. I'm going to say the Sun trine Pluto. I do think that that energy is the star of the show now. I know that Mars changing signs is a huge shift. Wherever Mars goes, that is where our energy goes. That is where a sense of urgency picks up. And so all of us in at least one area of life may find our focus shift, may find ourselves very quickly needing to pay attention to a brand new area of life. And yet it won't be totally brand new because we've already got Mercury here and Mercury is in shadow. So we will have lots of time in the weeks ahead to consider balance and harmony and partnership for each of us. We will get to consider how it is that each of the signs represent some fundamental human need. And the energy of Libra is the need to connect with others. We are, at our core, very social. You may notice that I am not where I usually am. I am now in Canada. I'm in quarantine and I'll be here for a while. But the reason I mention it as part of the horoscope portion of this video is because you may notice here, we've got this beautiful art on a pillow, on a cushion. This is one of my very favorite artists named Dean Russo. He is a Brooklyn-based artist. I have a custom portrait that I did of my dog, Biggie Smalls. But of course, Biggie Smalls, his wisdom stays with me, even though he is no longer with me. And he wasn't really my dog. He was my ex's dog. Okay, putting that aside, let's just say one of the great sacred lessons that I learned from Biggie was that we are so innately social. Even those of us who are totally good with being on our own, even those of us with lots of sixth house energy, lots of Virgo energy, as I spoke of earlier in this video, what I learned from the books of Donna Cunningham. Even those of us who are highly independent, lots of Uranus energy in our chart as well, still, we have this very fundamental need within ourselves to connect with other people, to be understood, to see ourselves reflected in the eyes of another, and that reflection that we see back to affirm something good about ourselves. And that is part of the gift of the energy of Libra that reminds us that we are social and that we can look to each other to find that sense of understanding, to find that sense of ourself. And this isn't to lose ourselves in another person. It is to affirm the best and one of the sacred parts of being a human being, that we have that need to connect with others. Now, finally, I just want to close by sharing this wonderful clip that I found on Instagram of a podcast of Sarah Silverman. And this was something that affected me so deeply, and I shared it in my Instagram stories. If you're not connected to me on social media, I would invite you to do so, especially Instagram stories and through my Facebook page stories as well. I do share some of your comments that I share towards the end in that portion of my online world in the Instagram stories. Okay, so having said that, there's this wonderful clip that Sarah Silverman shared from her podcast where people call in and they either give feedback or they ask her questions, and then she shares, her thoughts on it. And so someone called and said that a lot of people talk about you have to love yourself, but he has no idea how to do that because he sees himself as flawed. He thinks of himself as deeply flawed. So how is it that he's supposed to love himself? He says that he's not a stupid person. He thinks of himself as a smart person, but it just doesn't make sense to him to love himself when he sees, and all he sees are flaws within him. And Sarah Silverman shared some brilliant thoughts. One of the things she shared was, we don't love people who are unflawed. It isn't that we only love unflawed people, but very often it is when people allow us to see their flaws that we love them more. But the other truly insightful thing that she shared is that to love yourself, what does that actually mean? It means to accept yourself. And if you can't accept yourself, then what happens is you will only love people who will not love you back. You go for the unrequited love, because it is the people who can't love you that are going to affirm your own belief that you are not worthy of love, or you can't even accept yourself. And so the people who don't love you, you respect them more. However, unconsciously, you are going to respect them more because they're affirming something that you already believe. And it is the people that will love you and accept you for your flaws that you are going to find fault with, that you are going to think something is wrong with them, that you're going to pick at them, that you're going to, not want them, because you are not starting from that place of self-love. Earlier, I spoke about wholeness. What does wholeness actually mean? Because it's something actually that we're reaching for throughout this lifetime. We're never going to be perfect, right? As soon as we truly are whole in terms of our connection to love and wisdom and our ownership of our full love and wisdom, well, we'd be the Buddha. We'd reach nirvana. We'd ascend. We have no need to still be in our earthly incarnation for the earth school, as Gary Zukav called it. We would move to the next level, whatever the next level of learning and lessons is. We are here because we are working towards wholeness. We are here because we do have flaws, and that in some way, as part of the wisdom, in one way or another, the universe and its love and its wisdom is wanting to awaken the awareness of love and wisdom within us. Some of us build up very strong walls so that we don't do the work that love and wisdom, or the ownership of our love and wisdom, require. Sometimes that love and wisdom is buried between a whole lot of complex emotions and underneath a whole lot of pain. Prisons are filled with people who, as part of their journey towards greater love and greater wisdom, are hiding that love and wisdom underneath a whole lot of pain and a whole lot of suffering and a whole lot of hurt and a whole lot of anger. And yet, all of us, even those that seem really far from it, are on that journey towards greater love and greater wisdom. So yes, we're reaching for wholeness. We're reaching for love. And yes, we could say love yourself, but what that just really means is accept yourself. If you can accept yourself, if you can start from that place, it makes it that much easier to accept the love of others. At the very least, to respect somebody who is showing up with love for us. And this is why, I like to say people will do all kinds of things for all kinds of reasons that have nothing to do with you. It may seem like it does. They're making choices and decisions that seem like it affects you. And sometimes they may take choices or make actions that actually, or make choices and take actions that are hurtful. And yet, at the core of it, all of that is based on who they are and all the experiences that they had and how they interpreted them right up until that very moment when they're making some judgment or some decision that seems to have to do with you. But really, people make all kinds of choices and decisions that have nothing to do with you. And one of those decisions may very well be how much they can accept what it is that you bring. That really has nothing to do with you. It is about them. So what can we do? We can focus on ourselves. We can focus on accepting ourselves. That's it. If loving yourself is too much, just strive to accept yourself. Because from there, from self-acceptance, love becomes possible. Openness becomes possible. But more than that, with all this Libra energy, harmony, balance, and peace become possible as well. Well, thank you so much for watching. What do you love about this week? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading you guys. And to prove it to you, here are some of my most recent favorite comments. Thank you to everybody who likes, who comments, who subscribes, who shares, who thumbs ups. All of it means so much. And if you want to know how all this wonderful stuff this week speaks to you in your sign, you can log on to NadiyaShahSuperstars.com. At NadiyaShahSuperstars.com, you get expanded, exclusive video scopes each and every week for each and every sign for as low as just $3 a month with choose your tuition rate or choose your membership rate. Choose your tuition rate. We're talking about that in just a second, but Choose your membership rate. Higher tiers get you things like all access passes to future Synchronicity University classes, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space at NadiyaShahSuperstars.com. Choose your membership rate as low as just $3 a month. Links are in the description below. I look forward to meeting you there. Synchronicity University and the London School of Astrology have joined forces for the conference event of the year. Yes, you can join the conference event of the year. It is called Embracing the Community, a celebration of astrologies. We have got the best and the brightest as part of different schools of astrology joining us for this rare event, the Autumn Equinox celebration. I'm truly looking forward to it. And so let me tell you, because we've got some big dog astrologers here, you've been seeing them on my channel over the last few weeks. We've got Maurice Fernandez, one of the leading experts in evolutionary astrology. We've got Rick Levine, big dog YouTube astrologer, legendary astrologer. He's been doing this. He's so brilliant. He's going to be talking about Saturn. We've got Michael Lutin, legendary award-winning astrologer Michael Lutin. Of course, we've got Frank Clifford, another award-winning, huge big dog astrologer. He's also the principal of the London School of Astrology. It's been so much fun working with him. I posted an interview recently with him, and my mom, she watches everything, absolutely everything that I post. And so she was saying, you were having a lot of fun with him. And I said, yeah, like that was only the stuff you saw on camera. We tend to have a lot of fun together. And so, yes, we've got all these very big dog astrologers that you should see on your screen right now. Now, the discount code, there's only about 30 uses left of that discount code because I've been telling you it's limited use. SU50 gives you 50% off the conference rate, and that conference rate gets you lifetime access to all the recordings for all the classes. If you can join us live, that's great. If you can't join us live, that's okay as well. We're going to have these incredible speakers from around the world, and I really, really hope that you will join us. I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun. So remember, that's coming up this coming weekend. We're already at the Autumn Equinox. Can you believe it? Or coming up to the Autumn Equinox. Here we are. The Autumn Equinox is within stretch and we are mighty close, and you can still join us. Again, there's only about 30 uses for the discount code SU50. And so log on to synchronicityuniversity.com. You can learn all about our incredible speakers there. You can learn all about the incredible speakers on my YouTube channel as well. Just look at some of the interviews posted recently and the wonderful feedback they've been getting. And I hope that you will join us. It's going to be the party. It's going to be the party, let me tell you, the conference event of the year. What a great privilege it is to bring together all these incredible astrologers so that you really get all these wonderful perspectives. And yes, synchronicityuniversity.com is where you can learn more and sign up. Use the discount code. Just a few more uses left. And I look forward to celebrating the Autumn Equinox with you. Synchronicity University presents Rachel Schwartz, leading world expert in Kabbalah astrology. She's coming to Synchronicity University with choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class. Now that tuition rate for her 5-part series, her 5-part class, well, look, that is an unheard of rate for the quality of learning that you're going to get here. Kabbalah astrology is something that a whole lot of students have been asking for at Synchronicity University. And when you join us for just about a little over 2 weeks left to choose your tuition rate, well, you're going to learn all kinds of wonderful things from this mystical perspective that Rachel Schwartz is going to present. I'm so very proud of having her join us as part of Synchronicity University because she is so brilliant. She is such a star. You've seen her on my channel. You're going to meet her as well at the conference event of the year that I just told you about. And so I hope that you will join us, very much so, because she really is bringing this wonderful, spiritual, mystical, heart-oriented perspective to help us to understand the astrological chart differently. So she's got an introduction to Kabbalah astrology. She has got understanding sex and soulmates, understanding current events, understanding parenting, and so much more. And so links are in the description below, or go to synchronicityuniversity.com, learn more about this incredible class. Again, there's just over 2 weeks left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class, to join the one and only superstar in Kabbalah astrology, Rachel Schwartz, at synchronicityuniversity.com. Link is in the description below. Synchronicity University back to school autumn session is choose your tuition rate for a little over 2 weeks left in choosing your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class. These are Saturday afternoon classes taught by me. Yes, you get to continue learning from me as well. I think it's going to be so much fun to be part of this class and these courses. So what am I going to be teaching? A whole bunch of classes on the midheaven, understanding legacy and destiny in your chart, career and success. We are going to have how to write horoscopes, whether you're just curious about that process or whether it is that you actually want to embark on writing or presenting horoscopes in video format or audio format. We are going to talk about the actual techniques that'll help you to do that. We are also going to look at power couples. We're going to look at Pallas Athena in the astrology chart and so much more. As low as just $5 a class for just a couple more weeks to go. So I hope that you will join us and have a lot of fun, whether you join us live, whether you get the replay, whether you download after the fact. I think we're going to have a whole lot of fun together this autumn session. Classes start in the beginning of October, right around the corner. Again, just a little over 2 weeks left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class at synchronicityuniversity.com. Link is in the description below. A massive thank you to my sponsor for this show, for this episode. Look at me. I was watching Wonder Woman earlier today. It was on HBO last night, actually. But yes, look at this. Aren't these beautiful? This is Modern Day Manifestations. Link is in the description below. They make these gorgeous bracelets that have natural stones in them. And you should really put these stones next to your skin as part of cultivating the energy of the stones themselves. But for this video, I thought, let me just put them over my sleeves. But yes, aren't these beautiful? We've got jasper, we've got sunstones here, and they've got such a variety on their website. So just a huge thank you to Modern Day Manifestations. Link is in the description below. You'll get to see these and so many other incredible bracelets as part of what they present to the world and what they offer to the world. So a big thank you to them for being my sponsor. Again, Modern Day Manifestations. Link is in the description below. The Canadian Astrology Conference is right around the corner as well, taking place later this month in about 2 weeks' time from the time that I'm recording this. So that's really exciting. I will have my nerd hat fully on. I will be presenting on Alan Leo, who was huge as part of the New Age movement, huge as part of providing this bridge between a world that didn't know what to do with astrology and on the other side, psychological astrology. He represented that Neptunian expression of astrology with his work and with his book, Esoteric Astrology. So we're going to talk about him in a historical context and some of his core ideas that he presented, some of the experiences he had as an astrologer, how he was persecuted and all this fun stuff. It's going to be a fun, lively talk. Of course, it's not fun to be persecuted, but he was such an important figure, I believe, as part of ushering astrology into our modern world today. So we're going to have a lot of fun looking at him and explore some of his core ideas and some of his experiences. Now, the Canadian Astrology Conference also has other world-renowned experts speaking. Demetra George, right? Living legend Demetra George is going to be doing the keynote. Michael Barwick, that you've seen on my channel a whole bunch of times, and so much more. So check out astrologyconference.ca. Link is in the description below. And finally, you can get my take on your unique birth chart by checking out my partnership with Cosmogram. At Cosmogram, you go onto their website, you enter in your birth data, and within hours, you will get a PDF of your birth chart along with my explanations and explorations of the different planetary placements that are there in your chart. And so you can go onto their website, you can see a sample report there so you know exactly what it is that you're going to get. And of course, Thank you to everybody who has purchased one of these. Thank you to everybody who has found value in my interpretation of your unique birth chart. I truly am so grateful for it. So again, check out my partnership with Cosmogram. Link is in the description below. And thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I'm going to do something a little indulgent right about now. As some of you know, September 1st was the quinceañera of my website and my work as a full-time astrologer. And that was such a joy. But it was a little bit of an adventure. I was really busy leading up to the quinceañera. And then the day of the quinceañera, I ended up having to go out kind of late, not really finding the type of tiara I wanted. And so actually, just right now, if you will allow me, this is a little crown that I bought in Thailand in 2017 at a market. And I have loved this. It has been on my altar since then. And I'm just going to put that on right now. This is my official quinceañera moment. I'm not wearing a quinceañera dress, but hey, maybe I should have, but that's okay. Another day. Every day can be your quinceañera if you want it to be. And so this is my little quinceañera moment. Here I am, 15 years plus now as a full-time astrologer. So that is very exciting. And thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Thank you so much for making this incredible life possible for me. I'm filled with gratitude for you. Thank you. Thank you for all the ways in which you are part of my spiritual journey. Thank you for seeing me as part of your journey as well. I'm so grateful for it. I can never say it enough. And thank you again for watching. Thank you for indulging me with I don't think this is a tiara. I think this is a crown. This is a full-on crown for my quinceañera as a full-time astrologer. So thank you for indulging me in that. And thank you again for watching. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.